Welcome to season 15 of the Parenting Aces podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Stone, and this week we have the creator of CoachLife, Peter Clarke, joining us. And those of you who've been watching the podcast for a while may remember in season 13, we had several CoachLife coaches on the podcast and some incredible interviews, and they shared immense amounts of knowledge. If you are not familiar with CoachLife, I want you to go, after you're done listening to this, I want you to go to coachlife.com and check it out. Be sure that you utilize the Parenting Aces discount if you do decide to become a subscriber, and you can find that discount code in the show notes or on our website on the community discounts page. But Peter is a former top junior player. He was number 2 in Australia. He's born in Ireland, but grew up in Australia. Number 2 junior in Australia, number 2 player in Australia behind Lleyton Hewitt. Went on to become, I think, as high as number 220 in the world before giving up his professional playing days, moved into coaching, then into business, and is now running CoachLife and parenting his own 2 kids through tennis and pickleball, actually. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with Peter Clarke of CoachLife. Peter Clarke, welcome to the Parenting Aces podcast. You and I have been talking for, almost 2 years now, I guess. And I've never had you on, though I've had all these CoachLife coaches on. So I'm so happy to finally get to talk to you.
Great to be here, Lisa. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been great to get to know you over the last couple of years, and I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, for sure. So before we jump into what's happening with CoachLife, I would love for you to give our audience a little bit of your tennis story, how you got started in the sport, where it took you before landing you at CoachLife.
Yeah, so I was born in Ireland and we moved to Australia when I was 6 years old, and my parents are both Irish. I started playing tennis at 10 or 10 and a half, maybe, so quite late. Got really good really quickly, became one of the best juniors in Australia growing up. I was number 2 behind Lleyton Hewitt in the under 18s. We had a really strong age group in that age group. A lot of guys went on to get to top 100 and top 50. And I didn't really get to crack the top 100. My highest ranking was 229, which is pretty disappointing, I guess, considering my talent. I felt like I could have done a lot better. I was quite emotionally volatile, and I was like a Nick Kyrgios style personality on the court. But yeah, then I finished playing tennis, got into coaching for a couple of years, and then moved on to business and started CoachLife a couple of years ago. So
Awesome. And you talk about the emotional volatility. Lleyton Hewitt was known for his as well.
yeah.
How do you feel that impacted your ability to reach the level you wanted to reach professionally?
Yeah, it impacted me massively. I mean, that's the reason why I didn't make it. Every match I played, I threw it away. If you ask anyone that's ever known me, they're like, "Oh, Peter Clarke, he was crazy." Like I really regret a lot of my behavior, looking back. I mean, it was just awful. And it just stemmed from, I guess, my childhood experiences, and I had a lot of pressure from my parents, and I think that stayed with me, and I just wasn't able to handle it. I did figure it out. I quit a couple of times, and the last time I came back, I had no ranking. I'd stopped for a couple of years, and I sort of matured. I was 25, 26, and then I came back and I went from 0 back to 300 really quickly in 6 months, and I was calm. I was great. It was just tennis. I left it on the court. I didn't mind if I won or lost. I just figured it out, right? Just give your best on the court. That's all you can do. And then I got sick. I got this mystery illness, which eventually I found out was Lyme disease. So, but I had to stop, and I was bedridden for 6 months, and then eventually got better. But yeah, it was too late by then. So
Yeah, we've done innumerable podcasts on the mental side of tennis and the stresses that our kids feel. So I always find it interesting to talk to somebody that's reflecting back on their career and that says that the mental piece was kind of their undoing for a while. And I really want that message to resonate with the parents listening. I mean, here we're talking to Peter, who was number 2 in Australia, behind Leighton Hewitt. I mean, so high level player, and had trouble finding the way past the mental blocks. And so the message I guess I want to leave the parents with is lay off a little maybe on your kids,
Yes.
understand the pressure that they're feeling, and instead of getting upset by it, help them find a way through it so that they can find the joy in playing and competing and training and all those things. And I think it's a big struggle, and easy for me to sit here and say it, but I do think it's such an important piece of junior tennis development.
Yeah, it's everything. It really is. And, a guy that I played on the tour with, Anthony Ross, who's one of the coaches on Coach Life, Dr. Anthony Ross, he has a PhD in sports psychology. He played Wimbledon and he developed a course, a parent course in conjunction with Tennis Australia that sits on our site. And he studied it for a couple of years, and it was exactly that, the role that parents play. And he teaches you how to deal with it. And on Coach Life, we have over 50 videos for parents' advice, specifically talking about that. And just the common theme is that most of the kids had great parents, from Ashley Barty's parents. I mean, Anthony Ross used to actually work with her parents as well, like as part of the program. So, yeah, you just have to take that pressure off. There's enough pressure that the kid has playing tennis themselves, and you just have to have that unconditional love and acceptance, regardless of results or what happens. I mean, you've had Todd Larkham on your podcast before, and I listened to that, and I think he said it perfectly that you can talk to them about their behavior and their effort, but that's where it stops. Behavior and effort are important, but the results, they can't have that outside pressure. It affects you massively, and it affects your relationship with your kids in the future. So,
For
and
sure.
always those outliers, obviously, where you see some crazy parents and they make it in spite of it, but it's doesn't really happen that often. So,
Yeah. And just side note, Anthony has been on the podcast. So those
oh,
of you interested in hearing what his take on all of this, just go on our website and search his name, and that'll pop up. But so Peter, you're mentioning Coach Life. I mentioned Coach Life. Let's talk about Coach Life.
yes.
In season 13, I believe, we had several Coach Life coaches on the podcast throughout the season. And there have been some big changes and a lot of growth. And I'd love for you to kind of update our audience on what's happening with the platform and where it's headed in 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. We have 34 coaches now. We always add one new coach a month. Some incredible coaches. I've learned so much over the journey of 2 years building it. It's been amazing. I started it initially for my daughter. She started playing at 10 and a half, so I really wanted to learn how to coach her. And that's been a great journey. But yeah, we continue to grow. We've got tennis specific sports psychologists, nutritionists. We've got a racket customization expert on there. We have a match analysis strategy guy that used to work for the USTA coming on the site. So pretty excited. As you know, the junior coaches to all these incredible players. We had Carlos Alcaraz's junior coach. That was amazing going over there to Spain to shoot with him. So he coached him from 5 until 12, almost 13. He was his first ever coach, work with him every day. He really is the unsung hero. He just doesn't get any credit. And then he went straight to Juan Carlos Ferrero, which turned out to be a great decision, right? But he shows you exactly how he did it. Like daily, they worked on drop shots for 20 minutes every day. They worked on volleys, the transitional play, and it was incredible. And he was really honest about it as well, which I thought was brilliant because we talked to him about how did you develop Carlos's forehand, and he didn't take credit for it. He was like, look, I told him two things, but he was so talented that he just picked it up himself. So that was really great. And yeah, we continue to add new content to the platform, new experts. We've got some really great coaches lined up coming up soon, and then we're adding, customized programs and drills, and we have a player matchup service product, which is awesome, where you can search within a radius of your location by UTR and match up against other junior players and organize sessions. So we're pretty excited about that. We just launched that a month ago, and we already have 700 players signed up. So that's pretty cool.
Let's talk about that a little bit more,
Yeah.
because people that have been watching or listening to Parenting Aces podcast for a while know I am a huge proponent of practice matches, and at
Yes.
least here in the States, and I don't know how it is in the rest of the world, our juniors are not getting enough practice matches. They're doing groups, they're doing privates, and then they're playing tournaments. But their only competitive opportunity is in these high pressure tournament situations
Yes.
rather than working on those skills throughout the week by playing practice matches. What was the impetus behind adding that feature to Coach Life, and how are you kind of, other than using UTR, how are you helping players really facilitate finding opponents to practice against?
Yeah, 100%. Again, it came back to my daughter. So we live in New Zealand normally, but we moved to Fort Lauderdale for the last 6 months and just finding practice sessions, other players for her to practice with. And that's been really hard. You have to pay for her to go to an academy or a squad, and it doesn't always match up. So that's why we did it. And yeah, practice matches are so important. We've got Guy Fritz talking about Taylor growing up playing 3 or 4 practice matches a week, against someone that was better than him, someone that was the same level, and actually someone that was worse than him for confidence. So yeah, it's super important to play a full practice match. That's what I did when I was a kid. I'd play 3 or 4 full matches. Not like 3 11 pointers at the end of a 1.5 hour session, or first to four, or just a set. Like I would play 3 or 4 full best of three set practice matches. Not 2 sets and then a champions tiebreaker. We'd play a full 3 hour match. So it is really important, exactly what you said, to work on your game, to have the courage to work on those different things like serve and volleying, or adding new shots, or adding in your variety without pressure. So yeah, we're excited about it. You match up by UTR. I just think that the UTR system is incredible. I know there's WTN as well, but I just don't think it's honestly as accurate. So the UTR system is just so accurate. So yeah, you put in your location, and then you can search by a radius, 10 or 20 miles or 30 miles, and then just message the player. My daughter's already organized 4 or 5 practice matches, and it was pretty cool when I met the parents. They were also Coach Life subscribers as well. So that's been pretty cool to get feedback off them. So yeah.
Yeah. And so you're adding even more to Coach Life. Now you are establishing Coach Life Academy. Can you talk a little bit about that and what the goals are and who it is for?
Yeah, we're excited to launch our first academy here in Fort Lauderdale. We're launching on the 5th of January. So we're going to have an elite program, but also an after school program. But we're starting with our elite academy. And it's just for junior players, between sort of a 3 and 4 UTR, and right up to a 13, 14 UTR. So we're different to traditional academies. We have some of the best coaches in the world. And in Fort Lauderdale, we have Diego Moyano leading the academy, who I think is one of the best developmental coaches in history. I know you had him on the podcast. He's such a great guy, and he was part of the USTA for 10 years, and he had one cohort where I think 12 or 14 players ended up making the top 100 in the world, including Tommy Paul, Taylor Fritz. So he's the technical director. He's there one day a week, and then our head coach is Carlos Strada, who was the head coach at the University of Kentucky for 18 years. He's also an amazing coach. He'll be on Coach Life as well. But we have other experts as well. We have Jason Frausto, who does our match analysis, and he worked for the USTA, I think, for 6 years as well. Worked with Anna Masova, Goff, Keys, Fritz, doing their match analysis and their video analysis. So he's working with us remotely, and we're really excited about that. He has a platform called Tennis Unleashed, which is pretty cool. You should have him on the podcast. Actually, after he left the USDA, he spent years developing this strategy and shot selection method. It's really fascinating. So he studied thousands of hours of the pros footage, and he wants me to keep it quiet because it's his, I guess, his proprietary knowledge. But it's
Oops.
yeah, yeah, but it's pretty incredible, just about areas of the court that you should be hitting to, and where the pros are actually hitting. And a lot of it, I guess I could give one example, like when you're pulled out wide, and you're close to the tram line. Most of the time the pros are actually going straight down the line, and every coach will tell you, when you're pulled out wide, you should go back cross court. If you go down the line, you're going to open up the court. But actually that's the safest shot when you think about geometry, like just to go straight down the line. And as a player myself, I always feel like that's an easier shot for me to hit. So it's based on that. That's just to give you a taste of it. So it's pretty cool. So he does that monthly for our academy users. and we're excited about that. And then we have a strength and conditioning coach who's also a physiotherapist, or in the US, I think you call it a physical therapist. And I think that's really important for your S&C coach to also be a physical therapist, just because they understand the body, the imbalances, when to put load, when to increase load based on your age. And they can look at different problems with the joints and the body, and maybe that's holding you back in terms of movement or speed. So we have a physiotherapist that's a doctor he has a doctorate in physiotherapy, and he's joining the academy, so he's there full time with us. And then we have Dave Bailey as well, who you also had on the podcast. So he's coming in 1 week every month. He's our footwork specialist. And then we have Jeff Drock, who's also on CoachLife, who's Coco Gauff's junior footwork and fitness coach. So he comes every Saturday. So, and then we're going to utilize our network of coaches. And I guess the whole philosophy behind it is my philosophy on player development is that it takes a lot of different voices. And that's what I found over the last 2 years with CoachLife, just that, yeah, these coaches are amazing, and they're, you know, 60 to 70% of the reason these players made it is they got lucky, I think, with finding the right coach and the right environment, and then obviously they had great parents and talent and all that, but the coach plays such a huge role. But a lot of times they did have multiple coaches and multiple voices. And in a lot of federations, like in Tennis Australia, even the USTA, the Spanish Federation, the Italian Federation, every year the best players come together for camps, so for 4 to 6 weeks, and then they get access to these great coaches. So they might get access to the serve specialist or the footwork specialist or the S&C coach, and they fix those little holes in their game. And I think that's one of the keys to making it, is just being able to have different voices at different stages of your development. No coach knows everything. So, you need to have a coach that doesn't have an ego, that's willing to get help and advice from other coaches. And like you've heard it before, I mean, so much, but just you can get a message from a different coach delivered in a different way, and that resonates with you and you get it. But that's certainly, like, I was just speaking to Danilo Pizzorno. We were trying to get him on the site, but he's busy for the next couple of months because he's working with Jasmine Paolini. But he was actually Yannick Sinner's junior coach. So, a lot of people talk about, well, Riccardo Piatti was his coach at the academy, and he was, obviously, but it was also Danilo Pizzorno. He was the video analysis coach at the Piatti Academy, but also at the Italian Federation. So he was there working with him. So the best players in Italy would go to these training camps where they would have access to Danilo, where he would work with them for a couple of weeks on fixing those little technical issues. So that's what we're trying to do with Coach Life, is that we have this academy and we have the coaches, but if we find a little hole in the player's game and we can't quite fix it, or it's not improving, then we'll access the broader network and we'll do, whether it's remote video analysis or our coaches are coming in every month. We're hoping to get Jack Draper's junior coach, Justin Shering. He's going to come in and do some camps with us. So we're excited about that. So it's the philosophy that it takes a lot of different voices. And as a junior player, you really need to have that, start training like a pro at a younger age. So you need to have great fitness, great psychology, great footwork. You need to have a serve specialist, a specialist in technique. So you need all of that, which is what we're trying to create with the academies.
Well, as I'm listening to you, dollar signs are flashing in front of my eyes, and I'm just thinking about the average tennis family and trying to provide all of this for their young player to help them reach their full potential. But not everyone, has unlimited funds to invest in their kids' tennis. So, I think, putting it all into an academy setting where you're paying for the academy, but the academy is bringing in all of these experts to work with each player, it seems to be a more economical way to approach it. I'm hoping. I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, ab absolutely. Absolutely. And we're also offering weekly stays so people can come in for a week or a month. It costs a little bit more. and then you can still have access to these great coaches. And we're offering that match analysis service. So I was talking about Jason. We're going to offer that as a service on CoachLife. So it's separate to your CoachLife subscription, where you can work with Jason monthly and you send in a video of your match. So it normally takes him 3 or 4 hours to manually tag it. And so he works with a software company, and he gives you a full dashboard based on him looking at your match for 1 hour. And then he goes through it with you, and he can break down all the backhands you hit cross court from a certain position of the court. And you can break down those percentages that every time you went cross court, you missed it 80% of the time, or so, which is pretty cool. So we're going to add that as well. So if you're not part of the full-time academy, you can work with Jason remotely once a month as a separate subscription. And then you can come into the academy at different times of the year. You can come in and you can get a full program from our S&C coach. And then we also have a full strength and conditioning program on CoachLife as well as part of that subscription. So you can go on there. It's downloadable, tells you what to do every day of the week with videos from Dean Hollingworth, who's one of the world's leading S&C specialists. So, but yeah, with the academy, there's everything there, right? But it's not always necessary. If you have the right environment and you have people to hit with, and you have a good coach, like, and you're not living in Fort Lauderdale. I mean, we are planning on opening other academies in other locations, just so people don't have to leave home and go to an IMG like academy or an Everett academy, leave their family. Like, I just really believe that it's important to stay with your family when you're a kid. Although there's a lot of great players that have left, and it can toughen you up. But yeah, I mean, we've got other options as well, so you don't necessarily have to be there full time. But if you are there full time, you get everything together. And we've got hard courts and clay courts, and we've got a gym, and it's a pretty cool facility. And we've got an area upstairs where you can do supervised study, which is great. So we don't have a school teacher yet, but it's an adult that's supervising them doing their homeschool. So between sessions, they can go up, hang out. It's like a lounge, and there's desks, and they can do their homeschool. So
I love it. I love it. And one of the things that I was thinking as you were talking about, the importance of having these specialty coaches involved is we hear sometimes where kids get overwhelmed with too many voices coming at them. And one of the things I think is so cool about what you're creating, Peter, is the ability not only for these coaches to work with the kids, but the coaches are interacting with each other. So there's not a conflicting message or conflicting messages getting passed along, but rather a coordinated effort where the coaches are all working together on a common goal of whatever it is for that particular player at that particular time. Am I correct there?
yeah, absolutely spot on. So Carlos Strada, who's the head coach, he's like the player manager and the player mentor, and he's directing you almost like a GP to different specialists. So, he's still an amazing coach. And as I said, he was the head coach at Kentucky for 18 years, but he's the player manager and mentor. And we give monthly updates to parents. So it's like we have a system where you can log in and you can see all the updates from all the different coaches, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's important to have that person directing it, saying, well, he needs help with his back end. We can't seem to fix it. Who can we get to help that? Well, we have Igor Swiatek's coach on Coach Life. Let's send in a video to him and see what he can do. And then Diego's coming in once a week for a full day, and we know how good he is technically. So it's Diego coming into the academy, and he's looking at, well, I can see this. I mean, we just shot another day's content with Diego, and it was amazing. We had the best 9-year-old kid in the world, and he did some live correction with him, real-time correction in 3 different videos. And we had another 7-year-old, actually, I'll tell you about him in a minute. But the 9-year-old Diego could just see straight away, what was wrong with his game. I mean, he saw a lot of great things. The kid was really good. He obviously is the best in the world, but just straight away, he just
What does that mean? I have to just stop you. What does it
yeah.
mean to be the best 9-year-old in the world?
Well, yeah, I probably shouldn't phrase it like that, just because he won 3 Little Mo's, international Little Mo's. So I guess you would call him, yeah, the best based on that. And his UTR, I think based on his UTR, he had the highest UTR for his age in the world. But they're so young, you never know. There's kids that could be better. But we were at some public courts here in Lauderdale, and I was playing with my daughter, and I saw this 7-year-old kid, and he was playing with his dad. He was tiny, and he was amazing at volleys, like Pete Sampras. I couldn't believe it, like just the best volleys I've ever seen. So went over, introduced myself. Turned out the dad was an ex-college player. He played D3 college tennis. He was from Croatia, and they were Coach Life subscribers, which was really cool. They'd been using it every day for the past 6 months, and they loved the site. So we invited him to do some real-time correction with Diego. So he's on our website at the moment, this kid Maxime, and yeah, you can see Diego talking to him in real time. But it's fascinating because, the kid's only 7, so Diego wasn't going overboard with all the technical changes. You don't want to overwhelm a 7-year-old kid with 10 different things. So, but yeah, my point is that Diego, he's just able to pick what's wrong with it's having that eye, like Robert Lansdorp. I think he was we had him on the side, and yeah, it was sad that he passed away, you saw, but he really had that eye, and he could just see what was wrong with the kids straight away. And his content, Robert Lansdorp's content on Coach Life was amazing, but it was quite simple. Everyone would talk about his message being quite simple. It was 3 or 4 things, but I think the talent that he had was being able to pick what was wrong with a player. And yeah, I think there's very few coaches that have that. And it takes time, and it takes experience and time and working with a lot of kids, and then you can develop it. So
Yeah, absolutely. And so getting back to the academy, is there a boarding option at the academy, or is it a day, families have to move there? How does that work?
yeah, we don't have that at the moment. We may do it eventually, but our model is to try to open as many different locations in as many different cities as possible, with our coaches leading it as the head coach, and then utilizing the network. As I said, our match analysis guy works remotely, so he can work with academies and players everywhere. So yeah, we're not looking at doing that at the moment, but maybe eventually. But it's our academy is situated within a gated community, and players can stay there. There's rentals, there's short-term rentals as well. So yeah.
Love it. So a family can come and stay for a week or 2 weeks or for the summer, and the kid can train with you guys. Parents have a place to live. Kid gets to go home and sleep in its own bed that
Yeah.
night, which is a big perk. And the parents get to maintain some semblance of control as their kids
Yes.
are growing up. And I think that's really important too. And um, I just feel like the level of coaching expertise that you and Coach Life have pulled together under one umbrella, I mean, it's unmatched. And you have been very generous to offer a discount to Parenting Aces. So I want to just say to those of you watching or listening to this, make sure you go to our community discounts page on our website and use the discount because it is very helpful and it does give you full access. I know you've kind of branched out a little bit into pickleball as well, which I want to just give you an opportunity to touch on, even though it's a 4-letter word here, but but um, but a lot of parents are playing pickleball, and a lot of kids are using pickleball as kind of an outlet when they need a little bit of a break from tennis. So let's touch on that as well.
Yeah, 100%. My son actually wants to be a professional pickleball player. So he's 17, and that's why we moved here. So he could play pro pickleball. So he didn't play tennis. He played as a beginner at 14 and then moved straight to pickleball. But the whole concept of coach life is the junior coaches to the best players in the world. Like, they're developmental coaches. But with pickleball, they obviously didn't have that. So I'm his coach. So I'm actually one of the coaches on Coach Life Pickleball because I coach him in pickleball. I play at a really high level. But the coaches are some pros, some current pros. We've got one of the best female players in the world, Ryler DeHart. He played on
Yeah.
the tour in tennis. He got to around 200 as well. He just won a pro pickleball tournament. He's one of our coaches. And then we have,
Funny story about Ryler. My
yeah.
son's very first professional tournament that he played when he was in high school, he drew Ryler first round.
Oh,
And
wow.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock to be opposite, Ryler on the court. And Ryler was lovely. He made quick work of my son, but spent some time chatting with him and was just lovely to him after. So yeah, he and I have stayed in touch all these years. It's kind of a funny story.
Yeah, he's amazing. They travel around in a camper van, so they live here in Fort Lauderdale, but they go to all the tournaments in
He and his wife and his kids, like they're
yeah.
all over the place.
Yeah, his kids are so good. They're going to be the top players in the world already. They're already the top juniors in the US for their age and two age groups above. They're so good. They play with them every day. We play at this place called the Fort, pretty close to here, and yeah, they're amazing. Yeah, Ryler's 46 and he just won a pro tournament, so that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Crazy, crazy. Yeah. So, I mean, the pickleball information is there. And, if you have a Coach Life membership, do you have access to pickleball as well as tennis?
Yeah, you have access to that, and we launched with golf too. So it's with the same concept this time because they did have the junior coaches. So it's Colin Morikawa's junior coach, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, and John Rahm. We went to Spain and shot with him, so it's pretty cool. Our plan is to do it with all sports, and yeah, it's just so much fun to meet these coaches. They're just incredible, these unsung heroes. Like to go to Spain and to learn how John Rahm was developed, and it's amazing. So. Yeah, and I just love doing it.
I want to encourage also our community, if you are using Coach Life now and there's a coach on there that really resonates with you and we haven't had them on the podcast yet, please reach out to me and I'll reach out to Pete and make that happen, because Pete's been amazing at putting me in touch with these coaches and helping coordinate getting those podcasts recorded. And I would love to do more of that because I learn so much every time I talk with them.
Yeah, because I think one of the misconceptions about coach life is that it's just sort of technical coaching, and that a lot of parents think, well, we already have a coach, but it's so much more than that. As I said, there's 50 videos for parents' advice. There's 45 videos for aspiring juniors. So it's not just technical things on the forehand or the backhand or the serve. There's so much more to it. It's that advice by age group. There's coaches, transitional coaches, developmental coaches, beginner coaches. So, as I said, there's 630 videos there. So, yeah,
That's
it's
crazy.
like a
That's
blueprint.
crazy.
Yeah, it's the
And
complete development blueprint.
who is on your wish list to add to the site in 2026?
Danilo Pizzorno, we would absolutely love to get him if he's listening. Well, I've spoken to him, like I said, I just think he's a genius. Like he's coached so many players. You should check out his Instagram page. I think he has 80,000 followers, and he's actually just launched a smartwatch, an AI smartwatch that can analyze your technique. I haven't tried it, but yeah, he's got videos of all those players playing when they were young. Like he's got videos of Sinner at 14, 15, 16. He was their coach, right? And Jasmine Paolini and Samsonova, who got to top 10 in the world. I think he was their coach from 10 years old. So again, he's one of those unsung heroes that doesn't get a lot of credit, but he truly is one of the best developmental coaches in the world. And then we would love to just get Magnus Norman. We went back and forth with a few emails with Magnus, such a great guy, and he was really keen, but hopefully we'll get him eventually. I just think he's such a brilliant guy. And Ivan Lubicic, again, we went back and forth a lot of times, but he's such a smart guy, just a really smart tennis brain. And I think what he did with Roger was amazing. And then he's got his own academy in Croatia, and then he works with the French Federation. And since he started working with them, he's had amazing results. So I would love to get Ivan Lubicic and Magnus Norman, and then there's a lot of other junior coaches that I'm working on, trying to find Sabalenka's junior coach. We actually have one of Rybakina's transitional coaches, Niall Harbour, who'll also be working in our academy. He worked with Rybakina from 16 to 18. So, and he works with one of the best junior girls in the world. She's 14. She's high level Ukrainian player. So, yeah, I mean,
Cool.
I'm constantly looking for coaches and different experts. I mean, I'm obsessed with it. There's an Instagram page of a Japanese ex-baseball player, and he developed this throwing method for different sports. So I'm trying to get him on the site. So we're trying to get a translator. We're going to go to Japan and shoot with him, just the biomechanics of the serving motion, and so. Yeah, I'm just always trying to get any different expert I can get on the site that'll help, is what I'm looking for. So,
From the parent side, because this is Parenting Aces,
yeah.
um, how do you recommend parents utilize Coach Life to get the most out of it from their perspective, not necessarily in helping their child with technique or footwork or fitness, but helping the parents do better when they're managing their child's development and when they're sitting courtside?
Yeah, I mean, when you're sitting courtside, like kids see everything, right? Like they see all these, even if you're great and you're not putting pressure on them, they can feel and see if you're nervous. So, and a lot of times I just don't think that. I mean, I lost to the same kid 17 times in a row, and I was playing him for the 18th time. I lost the first set. My parents left, and then I beat him. So the first I beat him 6-1, 6-1 as soon as my parents left. So the parents don't always have to watch. Depending on the kid, they don't need you. And if they do need you, maybe you shouldn't be watching anyway, right? If they really do
Right.
need you, that's a bad thing. They shouldn't need you to watch them. And, if your kid's getting cheated, it's okay. They can deal with it. It's like get an umpire. It's like you don't always have to be there to protect them. Like just let them deal with it. It toughens them up. If you can watch and you're relaxed about it, then great. And your kid's not looking at you after every point. But and it's not easy because parents are putting a lot of time and effort and money. And I understand it now that I'm an adult from that perspective. Like I'm not putting any pressure on my daughter, but it's sacrifice. It's weekends and driving, you've been through it all. So, and then it's if you're a parent and you haven't played high level sport, you're not used to those feelings, and then you have those feelings, and how do you deal with them? So that's what Anthony Ross talks about on Coach Life in his 4 modules. And then the parents' advice section, all the coaches speak directly to that. But I think really it's just having acceptance as a parent. I can accept these feelings. I can accept that I'm going to feel nervous. I can accept that I'm going to feel frustrated. But parents are usually wrong about the way that they analyze a match. I'm just being honest. They're always like he's not playing the way he did in practice, and he can't translate that into a match, and it's usually wrong. So, and like I there was one video from Michal Kaznowski who coached Iga Swiatek, and it was fascinating where he was talking about her hitting drop shots. And he watched her hitting drop shots during a match, and it was his feeling that when she came off, he wanted to tell her to stop doing it, but then he held himself back, and he thought for her long-term development and having that creativity, it was probably better that he allowed her to do it, right? And then during the next session, maybe talk to her about when she should be hitting a drop shot and more about the shot selection. But these coaches have a lot of experience, and as a parent, like you can educate yourself certainly on Coach Life, and you can become a great coach as well. That's why I built Coach Life for parents. But if you haven't educated yourself and you haven't played sport at a high level, then you really need to just have that humility, or just to be able to take a step back and understand that your kid probably knows more than you do about tennis, and and just being able to accept those feelings as they come in, that those feelings of anger, nerves, and yeah.
Yeah. And, understanding what your role is as a parent,
Yeah.
and I've said this a million times, but, behavior issues, that's your realm
Yeah.
as mom or dad. Um, Getting angry and disrespectful or anything like that, that's your realm as the parent to step in and correct. But the tennis piece, you're paying a coach to handle that, let them handle that. And it's very difficult because the reality, and I'm not sure if this is your experience, Peter, but certainly the experience of a lot of the families that I come in contact with is the coaches aren't at the tournaments every weekend. The coaches are rarely sitting there watching these kids play tournament matches. And so the parents are the ones that are providing the analysis, providing the feedback, and learning how to do that in an effective manner is really crucial because you are spending the time and money to go to these events. Why not use them as learning experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can chart the matches and you can look at unforced errors and forced errors, and that can help as long as your kid's okay with that. But you just need to be mindful of what you say right when they come off the court. You know, if you have been educating yourself and you're learning and you can see certain patterns, you can talk to them if your kid's open to it, but the next day, not on the car ride on the way home. And
Yeah.
then, you can talk to their coach about it. And now you can video matches. They got the Battle of Boca here in Boca Raton every weekend, and you can have a video. They have the cameras behind every court. And now if your opponent's okay with it, you can put a video there, and then there's software out there that you can use where you can edit it and you can just have all the playing time, which is cool. So, and then you could send it to Jason, like I was saying, that does the match analysis. So as long as your opponent's okay with that, but coaches should be what they don't have to watch all your matches, but your coach should be watching some of your matches. He needs to understand how you perform under pressure and whether a shot is breaking down. Like it can work. You know as well as anyone that a shot can technically work in practice, but then under pressure, it might not work. And a lot of times parents mistake that for being a mental thing when really it's just a technical thing. Or really it's just they haven't been working on that technique long enough. So maybe they changed their technique 2, 3 weeks ago, but then when you get into a match and the pressure's on, that breaks down. It's not because you have a mental problem or that you need to work on. It's just that you need to embed that technique or ingrain that muscle memory for longer. But yeah, the parents can certainly help. I remember we were at a tournament last year in Tulsa. I think it was my daughter was playing, and there was a 9-year-old girl, and she was playing Gabby, who was 12 or 13 at the time, and she was an amazing competitor, and she was crying on the court, and you saw that side of
Oh,
it. Yeah, but you see that with the great competitors, right? They want to win so bad. It's just about harnessing that. And that was part of the problem that I had. I just wanted to win so bad, but I just couldn't stay on that line of harnessing it and keeping it together. But he was encouraging her, he was like her dad was amazing, and he was like, it's okay, just relax, just play, you're doing great, you're doing your best. And he sort of kept her from just completely spilling over. So so yeah, that was great. But yeah, encouraging them if that's what they want, positive encouragement, not clapping double faults and everything, but come on and clapping, and that's all good. And charting the match can help, that can definitely help. And then talking to the coach, and it's not just behavior and effort from the parents. Like you can educate yourself on coach life and as a parent, and you can talk to your coach. I think that as I'm not a coach now, but I don't think there should be a problem with parents being on the court during lessons. I think that's fine to understand what they need to work on, because that's part of why I built Coach Life, is that you can't always have the same coach throughout your development. Sometimes you need to change. Maybe at 14 you've outgrown a coach and you need to move on to another coach or a new environment. And as a parent, you need to be able to help your kid with that. Like ask them questions, look at their game. Have they stagnated? Have they plateaued? Are they still improving? Or are they still hitting 7 double faults a match? Well, they've had the same coach for 2 years now. Maybe we need to look at something different. So I'll go onto Coach Life, I'll look at the serve section, and I'll try to see what I can find. Like look at Richard Williams and Novak Djokovic's dad and Wozniacki's dad. Such great parent coaches. Is Richard Williams the greatest coach of all time? Maybe. So,
yeah.
right.
He figured it out, that's for sure.
But then he was also he didn't have the ego to be able to only coach them. Like he brought in Rick Macy, brought in different people to help at different times, the same as Djokovic's dad. So, which is why it's important. So when you're looking for a coach, you have to find a coach that doesn't have a huge ego, that's willing to learn and that's willing to hear other points of view. And I think that's the key to having a long-term relationship with a coach. Like all the coaches on Coach Life talk about that. You hear Nick Kyrgios's coach, Todd Larkham, saying that at 16 it was the perfect time for him to leave and move to a different environment and get some other voices and other opinions. And then although he coached him again at 18 years old, he knew that and the same with Jack Draper's junior coach. I mean, that's another guy that's probably one of the best developmental coaches of all time. His content on Coach Life is absolutely incredible if you watch it all. So he coached Jack from 5 until 16, And, a lot of coaches talk about starting with the end in mind. So they have this vision of how they want the player to play when they're a pro. And then they go about starting to work on that at 5, 6 years old. So you see it with Jack. He's got this really heavy topspin forehand that's heavy and kicks above the shoulders. But then he's got this flat backhand that's super flat and penetrates through the court. So it's a contrast. And Justin talked about that. He developed him that way, that he wanted to have that flat penetrating backhand, but a forehand that kicked up. So they worked on that daily. And then he had the buggy whip, which I think is the most important shot in tennis, the buggy whip forehand that on whether you're a right or left-hander, you finish on the same side. So he wanted him to develop that. So you see that in Jack's game, like he's got those three shots that he almost uses every single point. So
And to hear coaches talk about the roadmap and developing the roadmap with the end in sight, that's the, like you said, picturing what they want them to look like at 18, 19, 20, and figuring out how to get them there, how to build toward that. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of junior development, quite honestly. And so if you have a coach that understands that has a picture of where they want your child to be as a full grown, mature adult player, and then has the knowledge or the resources available to build towards that over the period of time that they work with that player. Again, we talk about long-term development all the time. We talk about, the fact that this is a journey. It's not something that happens overnight. And these are all part and parcel of that journey. So I think identifying coaches that have that skill and ability and willingness to collaborate where their shortfalls come into play is huge. And again, where CoachLife can be such a valuable tool.
yeah, 100%. And just like running a business, right? So many people work in companies and run businesses. There's different experts, right? There's someone in marketing, there's someone in accounting, product development. So it's the same with tennis. It's so complex. There's so many different aspects to it. So yeah, no, I think you're 100% spot on there. Yeah.
So before we wrap up, just so our audience knows, how do they access CoachLife? What is the cost and what does it get them?
Yeah, so it's coachlife.com. It's $15 a month, but you pay annually upfront. We just had a Black Friday discount. I think we've extended that a little bit at the moment. So it's 60% off, but we might just have that for a few more days. And then after that, they have the Parenting Aces discount. But yeah, for a few more days we have that. But this is we're not going to release this for a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that'll be expired by the time this comes live.
Yeah, but it's 180 for a whole year for 12 months, which gives you access to everything tennis, pickleball, golf, all the tennis content, all the new content that we're going to add on there. And yeah, as I said, we add one new coach a month. So it'll always be that same price. And it's just a yearly subscription that gives you access to everything.
Awesome. Love it.
And
Well,
then you get a
Peter's,
discount. Oh, sorry.
no,
And
go ahead.
you do get a discount at the academies, and we run camps. We're running some camps as well. So you get a discount there. If you're a Coach Life subscriber.
Do you want to talk about the camps real quick before we
Yeah,
wrap
so
up?
we launched the camps initially a couple of weeks ago, and we're running it the last week in January, the last week of February, and the last week of March. So there's just 10 players, 10 to 12 players, and it's Diego, Jason, Dave Bailey. It's the strength and conditioning coach, Dr. Niko, that I told you about. So it's really small groups, and it's 20 hours for the week, 4 hours tennis every day for 5 days, and 1 hour's fitness. But at the end of the week, you get a full S&C program for 3 months from Dr. Niko. He videos everything and looks at all the imbalances in your body. And then you get Diego for 2 hours privately, looking at you technically, looking at all your shots, giving you his feedback based on that and a program. And then you get the footwork from Dave, same thing. He'll look at you, give you a program. Dave, as you know, Dave's booked out 6 months in advance. He's got these fly-in clinics in Orlando, and he does an incredible job. I mean, a lot of people don't know it. He doesn't really talk about it, but he worked with Emma Raducanu as a junior. That's a cool story. So he used to have these DVDs, and her dad contacted Dave, and she was 12 years old, and they did 2 Zoom calls, but they knew all the moves like inside out. They'd studied his DVDs and everything. So So that's when you see that the way Emma Raducanu moves. So Dave's there, and then we have Carla Strada who's also there, and then we have the match analysis. So you get a full match analysis from Jason. So it's 10 days. So it's pretty cool. We've got those 3 weeks that we're running that's separate to our academy. We're excited about that. You can find that on our website. There's a tab for the camps, and then there's a tab for the academy, and people can always set up a call with me. So I've been doing calls with parents over the last couple of weeks. It's been so much fun to talk to people about how they're using Coach Life and how much it's helped them. And yeah, the stories have been amazing. And yeah, you can
Love
do
it.
that one-on-one Zoom call with me for as long as you want. And there's no obligation to do the camps or the academies or anything like that. If you just want to hop on the call with me and get some advice, I'm always happy to help.
And they can book that through coachlife.com as well, or do they need to reach
Yeah,
out to you
it's
via
on my
email?
Calendly link. So I have a Calendly link. If you make an inquiry through the academy or the camps, you can just book a call with me there. It's on my calendar.
Perfect.
Yeah, happy to do that. So
Perfect.
yeah.
Well, it's been great having you on. I look forward to seeing what comes with Coach Life in 2026 and beyond, and look forward to getting more of your coaches on the podcast this year. So I think that will be fun. I always enjoy the interviews that I do with them, and they share such great information because they have such incredible experience and history in the game. And so I wish you all the best as you continue to grow and expand. And hopefully, I'll get to meet you in person one of these days soon.
Yeah, in New Zealand or California or something like that. There was one thing that I did forget to mention is that we've been talking to a serve specialist, Paul Lafiti. He has a business called Serve You Up. He works with Dave in Orlando, and we're hoping to get him to come and work at the academy. So we're going back and forth. But he worked with my daughter, and he is amazing as a setup of 4 or 5 cameras, and he's probably one of the best in the world at what he does. So, and he's going to be joining in at the camps as well and coming in occasionally for the academy, but hopefully full time eventually. So if anyone wants to check him out, it's Paul Lafiti, and it's Serve You Up, and he's based out of Orlando, and his prices are really reasonable, and he gets a lot of kids coming in. So we went in for 2 hours. He does a 2 hour setup, sends you all the video, a dashboard, the feedback, and it's pretty amazing. So
I love it.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, you've got all the resources and you have pulled them all together on coachlife.com. So, for all of my listeners out there, please do check it out. If you decide that you want to become a subscriber, make sure you use the Parenting Aces discount code, save a little money. And I hope you'll look into the camps and the academy as options for school breaks or vacation time or whatever works for you. But Peter, always a pleasure to speak with you, and nice to put a face to the voice now. And I hope you'll come back and update us as Coach Life continues to grow.
Sounds good, Lisa. And thanks for everything that you do and what you've done over the last however many years you've done this has been incredible. Yeah, you have such a great knowledge, more than me. I mean, you speak so eloquently about it and yeah, thanks for everything that you do.
I appreciate that so much. To my audience, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on Parenting Aces.